Ever see a picture that just gives you like full body chills? This photo was captured in 2007 and it seems like kind of a harmless picture, right? There's nothing that's very out of the ordinary. It's taken outside of an apartment window by a woman named Maria Leontinka in Czech Republic. A man was just outside of the apartment. He was screaming, he was shouting, and this woman took the picture because she was going to report it to the property manager, having no idea that something very dark just occurred in that building. Inside that apartment building in 209 was a family of 4, all of which had been decapitated, and it's believed that man who was captured was responsible. Police are then able to connect the dots of another picture that was taken across town on the same exact day. It's believed to have been the same man, that he approached this group of teenagers and he was bragging about what he had just done, and they weren't sure if he was for real, if he was kidding, psychotic, so they took a picture of his face before he eventually ran. And this was the best shot they got. They even sketched the man, but they never found him, and his motive remained unknown.
We need to talk about Eyeless Jack. Eyeless Jack is an entity that almost looks human, except it has empty black holes where its eyes should be, and sometimes with black liquid dripping down his hollowed out eye sockets. One person named Mitch actually encountered Eyeless Jack, and it began when he went to the hospital and the doctors found something very unusual. Somehow Mitch's kidney was missing. It was surgically removed overnight, with a small incision that was perfectly sewn up. The next night, Mitch woke up around midnight to a loud thud in his bedroom, and that's when he came face to face with Eyeless Jack. This entity was staring directly down at Mitch from his bed. Mitch grabbed a camera and took this photo, which made the creature lunge towards him, clawing at his chest trying to get to his lungs. Because despite not having eyes, Eyeless Jack can still see you. He can remove your organs while you're sleeping, and sew up the incision perfectly so you don't even notice. So be careful next time you fall asleep.
Have you guys heard of the McDonald's cursed bench in Mexico? The story goes that there's a bench and it has a Ronald McDonald mannequin sitting on it. Now there were 2 men that went to the club around the area. And you know how after a party or a club, you want to go get something to eat. So that's what they did. And they found a McDonald's that was open 24/7. They go in, they get their food, and you know, thinking nothing of it. It's just a regular night. Now this is where it gets scary. Don't judge me. I know I'm a weirdo for doing this, but I love it. So they get their food, they walk out, and they decide to sit on the bench. Just to have somewhere to sit while they eat their food. Once they're done, one of the guys gets both of their trash and goes to throw it out in the garbage. While the friend is waiting, he decides to lay on the lap of the Ronald McDonald mannequin on the bench. I got a question before I continue the story. McDonald's or Wendy's, which one do you think is better? Let me know, I want to see who wins. But once the guy laid on the lap, he goes, man, I'm tired. That's when the Ronald McDonald statue turned, looked down, and says, so am I. This guy was so scared he ran off and never went to that McDonald's again. Now supposedly there's security footage and everything of this. People all around the area have seen the Ronald McDonald statue in the middle of the night, walking around and moving.
This is your chance to leave now, because what I'm about to tell you is some next level stuff. You've been warned, and if you're still here, it's story time. Take a seat. So yeah, there's this thing called P90X, it works. This disgusting man behind me is Kevin Davis, and he is evil personified. And even though he's not a serial killer, I'm still going to put him on this list because the nature of his crime is absolutely horrifying. That lovely woman next to him was his mother, whom he killed. And that's not even the worst part. Let me tell you what happened and how it happened. On the morning of March 27th, 2014, Davis would go to his mother and tell her that he did not like people and wished to end himself. The victim, Kimberly Hill, seen here, would go on to tell Davis that if that's what he wanted to do, she couldn't stop him. Hearing that come out of his mother's mouth would infuriate Kevin, so what does he do? He would come up behind her and try to strangle her with a cord. Hill began screaming, so this made Kevin panic. So he goes and retrieves a hammer and starts to bash in his mother's skull. He hit her at least 20 times, causing her skull to split open. Davis then went and retrieved a kitchen knife where he inserted it into the wound on his mother's head. He said to ensure she was dead, he took the knife and stirred her brain with it. And get this, after he removed the knife, he would then stick his own hand into his mother's head wound and then start feeling around, saying that her brain felt like putty. And then after that was over, he tasted some of it. Oh my gosh. He then proceeded to drag the body into the master bedroom where he assaulted it. He had also planned to do something similar to his sister, but thankfully he decided against it. After he was done performing that disgusting act, he calmly went over to a neighbor's house and said that he needed help because he killed someone. The police would arrest Davis without incident, where he made a full confession to all of his crimes. Kevin would even go on to tell police that he had often fantasized about having relations with dead bodies. With a smirk on his face, Kevin would explain to detectives how he was a virgin before he assaulted his mother's corpse. He would be gently laughing as he said, "I guess I lost my virginity to a corpse." And the most heartbreaking part is that Kevin will go on to say that Kimberly, his mother, was a great mom and she didn't deserve what he had done to her. In fact, he would go on to say that she was the best mother in the world and that he was just a terrible, disgusting person. At least we agree on something. Kevin would smile at the jury as they sentenced him to life in prison. He currently serves his time at the Jester IV facility in Richmond, Texas, and get this, is eligible for parole in March of 2044. Good riddance, Kevin, you human dumpster.
You've heard of the Charlie game, right? Well, if you haven't, it's like Bloody Mary, but way, way worse. With Bloody Mary, you turn off all the lights, you turn the water on or something, and then you say Bloody Mary's name 3 times. Then your friend would grab you, you'd run out of the bathroom screaming, and it was all fun and games because you got scared, right? It's scary, but it's okay because we all know it's a game, right? But what about when it's not just a game? Anyways, me and my friends were hanging out in the basement. We were eating pizza and playing the Nintendo Switch. Then Jonah looked to me and asked, "Do you know the Charlie game?" At first I thought he was talking about a new game on the Switch or something. He told me you go into the bathroom and you turn off the lights. Then you knock on the mirror and you look for Charlie. If you see him, the game is over. If you don't see him, then it's time to go to step 2. The second part of the game was too hard to explain, so we decided he was just going to show us. He took a piece of paper and he wrote yes and no on it in 4 corners, like this. Then he put 2 pencils crossing each other on the paper and started chanting, "Charlie, Charlie, can you hear me?" He turns the light off and at this point I'm starting to get scared. I whispered to my friend Christina that I was scared. She leaned over and assured me that it's just a game. We were whispering, but somehow Jonah heard me. Jonah looks up at us and he goes, "It's not just a game." We asked Charlie questions and the pencils moved and he answered. But that's not the scary part. So after we finished the game, we went to bed. Everyone else had fallen asleep and I was watching TikTok on my phone. I heard a creak and it sounded like it was coming from upstairs. I tried to tell myself maybe it was the wind or the house settling or their pets, but it wasn't windy and they don't have any pets, so when I heard the creak a second time, I got scared. I tried to wake Christina, but she was out. That's when I noticed that Jonah wasn't laying next to us. I'm debating whether or not to get up when I start hearing whispering. And then it hits me, he's playing that freaking game again. That's when I had an idea. I was gonna scare him. So I sneak closer to the bathroom and sure enough, the whispers are getting louder. I could hear his chanting, "Charlie, Charlie, can you hear me? Charlie, Charlie, show your face." When I got up to the door, it was closed. There was a weird light coming from underneath the door. I reached for the door handle and when I touched it, it was burning hot. I kept reminding myself that it was just a game. I knew when I opened that door, I was gonna see Charlie. I just went for it. I opened the door.
When I got home tonight, I got out of my car and there was a man. I had never seen him before this morning when he was in my apartment complex area. And he just gave me bad vibes, but whatever. I got out of my car at night and he tries to make conversation with me about my headlight because it's out right now. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know, I just have to get around to it, whatever." I go inside, don't turn the lights on, but I have a feeling to check my Ring camera. He's standing in the street, which is very close to my apartment building, staring at my building. And he did not leave for like 5 minutes. I mean, like halfway through, he left the empty parking spot and hid behind a car, but he waited to see. So now he knows what car I drive and where I live, just not my apartment.